Hi, happy Monday. Jen DeWeese. I'm the President and Executive Director of the Maryland Center for Construction Education and Innovation. And I have two amazing women with me today to kick off Construction Inclusion Week. For those of you that might be watching, not on MCCI's channel, MCCI, we're a nonprofit whose mission is to create opportunities for a diverse population to be in the built environment, specifically careers in construction. So, with me today, I have two powerhouse women. I'm here to help celebrate National Construction Inclusion Week. So, first, I will ask Lynn if you wouldn't mind, both of you, introducing yourselves and sharing a bit about your nonprofits. And we'll start with Lynn.
Good morning. Good morning. Still morning. No, good afternoon. Happy Monday. Happy Indigenous People Day to those who are recognizing. Again, I'm Lynn Selby. I'm the Executive Director of Guynes Center. We are located in East Baltimore on small little street, Somerset Street. Guynes Center started in 1996, and we were founded by the School Sisters of Notre Dame. The School Sisters of Notre Dame really believe in if you educate a woman, you transform the world. And so we've been doing that work in support of the women of Baltimore City since 1996. We started out with training women in upholstery and childcare and GED and all of that. But our bread and butter since early 2000s have been careers in allied health, namely healthcare, namely pharmacy tech and CNA. But as of last year, I'm super excited to share that we started a new industry, women in construction, and we are partnering with CEI. We are grateful for Jennifer and her team for kind of getting us some guidance on that, and the Maryland Center for Construction Education and Innovation. And those were, I don't want to go too much in it because I know we will share, but Guynes Center serves basically women ages 18 to 50. And part of what we do is really strong essential skills training as well. So I get into some of that, but that's who we are. I am excited to be here, and I'm excited to talk about our program and hear about Natasha's program as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lynn. Thanks for being here. Natasha?
Yes. Hi, I'm Natasha Guynes. I'm the founder and president of HER Resiliency Center. We're a survivor-led nonprofit supporting young women 18 to 25 overcoming various forms of hardship. We started out in Washington, D.C. in 2015, expanded to Baltimore in 2019. Our model is a community-based model. While we have an office in South Baltimore, our model is to go to the women we serve, not asking them to come to us, because we want to remove as many barriers as possible to be able to provide support. With that, over the years, we've watched that as we've encouraged the women we serve to get jobs or additional education, that there is a real gap in employment that they can that will pay them. And as a result, we started looking to ways that we could help them increase their education. So instead of earning minimum wage with two young children, we could actually help them create a career path. And so with that, we came across the skilled trades, the construction industry. And earlier this year, actually about a month ago, launched the Triple Crown Academy, which helps young women enter the skilled trades with hard skills and soft skills.
Amazing.
So we'll get into it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to get into it and talk about your programs. You both have different backgrounds and different organizations, but very similar missions. So very, very cool. So I know, Lynn, you and I have talked at length about why construction. In fact, that's why we met when you guys were talking about your construction program. So can you give us a little background onto why Guynes Center chose to depart after 20 some years of just doing healthcare?
Sure. So Jennifer is correct. We met somewhere in the mid 2000s at the launch of the Maryland Center for Construction Education and Innovation. At the time, I was running the Governor's Workforce Investment Board, which is by nature a policy board. And we looked at the construction industry and knew that there was growth opportunity there, but also knew that the construction industry was just about right for looking at non-traditional populations. to enter into the workforce. They needed workers too. It was a good value proposition for them, and they were incentivized by that. Fast forward, I came to Caroline Center, and that always stuck in the back of my mind, and particularly because Caroline Center is one of the few programs that serves only women. And I knew that there were probably some stereotypes about there around what women could and could not do, and kept construction in the back of my mind. And also, I feel like part of my mandate is to look at growth industries in the region, and marrying those two thoughts together, kind of my background in that policy work, and knowing that, as the women of the city goes, so goes the state, and that we also want our employer community and our business community to not have to go outside of the state to recruit. So began this discussion actually with one of my board members at the time, a gentleman that was at Hopkins, and then reconnected with Jennifer, which was amazing, and really took her guidance and launched this program. So, and it was right in the middle of Caroline Center's strategic planning as well. And part of one of the goals is to look at growth industries and what the labor market could dictate. I mean, if you look out of my office window, there are cranes everywhere in the city. And I know that given the right guidance and the right instruction and the Caroline Center way, which we can talk about that a little, it would be right for women to come into the program. So that's kind of the background and how we got to where we are.
Love it. I'm anybody that knows me knows how passionate I am about giving women opportunities in the built environment. And I accidentally became, a woman in construction 24 years ago and never intended it. And my career has been amazing. So as somebody who went to an all girls school, I've always been a girl's girl, but nobody was talking about construction to women. So I love the fact that you guys are both bringing this to the women in Baltimore and the women that you serve. So Natasha, why don't you tell us your story
about how we got to? I was so listening to Lynn's answer that I kind of lost. What was the question about? Was it how we got
what inspired you to start this program?
Thank you. Last year we had a young woman who we had been helping with her housing. Well, she'd been living in a hotel for about 3 months. And I took a walk with her one day and she said, I want to have further education. I don't want to be in a hotel with my daughter. I really like it, but I don't think I have access. And I said, well, I don't know what kind of education you have in mind, but I have a friend who is with one of the local labor unions, and I could call and see about their apprenticeship program. And long story short, within a week's time, she was on a job site in Baltimore City, and she was assigned as a helper because she hadn't started the apprenticeship program officially yet. And so she went from no income to earning $20 an hour. Was able to opportunity to start the apprenticeship program. She was able to move out of the hotel. She was able to get her own place with her and her daughter, and watching her really thrive. And then she'd send me pictures when she was dirty, and she had such pride in being able to see what she was helping to construct or contribute to. And, again, we were already considering like what kind of education we wanted to be able to provide at HER Resiliency Center for a tangible and that ties directly to employment. And we were really looking at it. And then with that opportunity that she had, just recognizing and doing more research that women are, the skilled trades that, there aren't as many skilled labor individuals in the workforce right now. There's a desire for women. There's a desire for more minority women. And, with that, we're like, you know what, if you all do what you need to do in terms of the pre-apprenticeship, the apprenticeship, and the other components, which I'll get into in a second with the Triple Crown, and being able to keep your employment, you will have employment for the rest of your lives. Because, as we know now that we've recognized that the infrastructure has been ignored for so long, and now we have a real need for labor and skilled labor construction. And so with that, they have an opportunity to really build their own wealth. And as part of the Triple Crown Academy, we also have them participants working with financial planners. So that they can actually elevate themselves out of poverty.
I love that. So what I think is really interesting. So like you mentioned, construction, obviously we have a workforce shortage. We have, just general people in general not seeking careers in the skilled trades. But in Maryland, in fact, overall nationally, it's like 4.3-ish%, depending on what number you look at, it's women in the trades. But in Maryland, we do have a higher percentage of women in construction, not specifically just the trades. In fact, I don't know the stats, but in Baltimore, when it comes to women in construction, we have the fourth highest percentage of any city in the country. The first three cities are all in Florida. So we're the first, the biggest outside the state of Florida. And then I think the fact that you guys are doing this here in Baltimore, we're already an industry that, and I'm sure maybe it has something to do with our amazing MBE, WBE program. We're the oldest in the nation, right? So we already try and get more diverse people working in this industry. But I love that you guys are doing this. And I think we're like in a city that is like ripe for it and ready for more women. So, we talked a little bit high level about your programs, and they both are pretty different. I know Lynn's because of how we helped structure that. And then Natasha and I talked last week. So Lynn, why don't you tell us a little bit about how the Caroline Center has structured the pre-apprenticeship program, and you have a partner and everything.
Sure. Thank you. So Jennifer, you are correct. You helped make the connection to us, to our partners at the Baltimore Washington Building Trades. But one of the things that was important to us, or several things, is that we had the women positioned in an earn and learn model. The women that come to us don't have a long runway before they need to start making money. It's very short. So that's one thing. Two, also, Caroline Center has the foundation of what we do and what employers tell us why we're successful. Also, outside of our technical skills training, is our essential skills training. So I had the blessing of having a staff person already at Caroline Center that was a woman that was a retired executive from BG&E. And she coordinates our essential skills programming. She knew the construction industry. She knew some of the pitfalls, the highs and lows, particularly as it related to women. So one of the first things we did is we rewrote our essential skills curriculum to essential skills for construction, and partnering with Jennifer and Nicholas at the Building Trades, understanding math for construction, what it means to have those essential skills in a construction work environment, gender issues, OSHA, anything you could think of. And we wrote that construction. So what happens is the women still go through the same onboarding process as the women that come to us in healthcare. They apply to the program. They participate in information sessions where we talk about the program. They interview, they drug test, all of the things we need. And we have a series of requirements. And, the math test is kind of not pass or fail, but to see where we need to meet you and get you where you need to be, helping you with transportation, all that. So they're with us for a month on consecutive Mondays, and they're doing the essential skills for construction during that time. And after the day ends, then they go into math at the end of the day. At the end of that month, so I should just say that they receive a stipend, because part of our goal and this is, our regular healthcare students don't receive a stipend, but our construction, it's called Build HER programming, but they receive a $150 stipend each week if they show up on time and do the things that they need to do. At the completion of that month, Nicholas at the Building Trades has reserved 5 seats for us per class. So 5 women, it could be 1, 2, or it could be 5, go there and participate. He calls it apprenticeship readiness, and their apprenticeship readiness program. It used to be 3 weeks. He added another 3 weeks. So now it's 6 weeks of programming. and they learn all the things they need to on that end. The thing that I like about our program, obviously it's ours, it's that it's exposure along just basic labor positions. We understand that this is a growth industry. One of the things, Jennifer, I learned from you a long time ago that, while it's high touch, it's high tech too. So we want to expose women to, if there are technology components of it. Our funder provided money for iPads if they needed them, work boots, tools, and all of that. So at the end of what was 3 weeks at the building trades and now 6 weeks, they must apply for a union job. They must. You don't have, that's part of it. We don't want people just going through the program to go through the program and not do anything. And then Miss Yvonne, who I was talking about, Yvonne Moten, she is amazing. We call her a pre and post apprenticeship navigator. So she's the person that does the weekly contact. She teaches the course. She does the interview. And she's like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you getting up? Are you showing up on time? What else? So that is kind of the crux of our program. A lot of lessons learned. We were just funded for a second year with our funder. So I should say that the Daughters of Charity, that's another community of nuns with whom we work, and they have a program called MMI, Mandate for Mission Ministries. It's escaping me right now. We call it MMI, but they have been really excited in funding us for a year or two, and we're doing things a little bit differently. But I think the thing that is most important, and what employers tell us, we can give anybody technical skills, but the essential skills piece and the fact that we molded that for construction now, they get financial literacy, all of those things, that is the differentiator for Carolina Center.
100%. Every, no matter what age the person is that's receiving construction training, the employers always tell us, we can teach anybody anything, but they need to have a passion for what they're doing, and they need to be able to have a good work ethic, and just show up on time. The bar has been set pretty low when it comes to taking people, because the construction industry is so desperate. And I'm not saying desperate and they'll take anybody, but I'm just saying in that we just have a lack of people that realize the amazing opportunities. So they're not coming. They're not coming to the industry. And for the last 40 years, we've sent everybody to college or told them the only way you could have success is by going to college. So there's a lot of disenfranchised people out there that think, well, I'm not going to college, so what do I have? So I love that you guys are helping women realize what their opportunities are. So Natasha, your program is very different, run very differently from Lynn's. Can you share with our team?
Yes, sure. Yes. By the way, Lynn, are you talking about Nick Cummings at the building?
Yes, Nick Cummings. Yes.
He's very, so I'll go ahead and share that he's wonderful. Which I'm going to go over an overview of what we do at the Triple Crown Academy. But when last summer I had Nick from the building trades, Don from the carpenters, and Brian from the millwrights, and Bob Eaton of the Mid-Atlantic Carpenters Training Center come to her, and they gave input on the design of the model that we were putting together for the Triple Crown Academy. And I did not want to have a pre-apprenticeship program, to be completely honest with you, but they were like, you need one, because without it doesn't give them to come in. They needed to know how to read a tape measure. They need to know, some of the math, and without it, they would not have like as much of an opportunity, because one of the other parts about what we're doing is exposing women in communities who otherwise wouldn't have access to even knowing about construction or labor unions and that kind of stuff, and to giving them a real opportunity. So we wanted to make sure that they were qualified to at least apply and get into the apprenticeship program. And so with that, the Triple Crown Academy has 3 main prongs to it. The first is the pre-apprenticeship program. So this first cohort that we launched in September did not quite have the funding necessary to run our own pre-apprenticeship internally, though that will be different at the beginning of next year. And so which our next cohort would be in February. And it's an 8-week pre-apprenticeship program. And this is the first 2 weeks, they're getting their OSHA 10. They're doing the math, learning to use the power tools. After the second class of attending the pre-apprenticeship program, our partners have agreed to hire the women we serve as helpers on jobs. This gives them access to have a better eye view of like what the industry looks like, who the players are, what's expected of them while they're in the pre-apprenticeship program. Because what we don't want is for them to apply, get in, use member dues for their school, decide not to and their own dues, but decide not to continue. But it also, there's a chance they won't get in at all because they don't know the industry. And we want to make sure that they do. And so the second prong of the Triple Crown Academy is the soft skills. We have a 32-week getting and keeping a job workshop series that we've used over the years. And we have an 87% success rate of the women we serve who go through it, get a job, keep one for 6 months or longer. Now, when we're talking about young women 18 to 25, experiencing homelessness, previously substance use, being sexually exploited, sex work or sex trafficking, survival-based sex work or sex trafficking. Like there are a lot of hurdles, a lot of young mothers. And so we want to so it's a pretty good success rate in this, but it requires, and I think what Lynn talked about, someone like calling and making sure that they have those other like accountability, calling wake up calls, are you at work on time? And so that's what our professional employment coaches do in this capacity. And also like we have peer employment contracts. And what those are is, like I said, we're a survivor-led organization. And at 21, I got clean from drugs and alcohol. My first job was at Safeway in recovery. And I didn't like how my manager talked to me. And so I threw my apron at him. I said some of my preferred swear words and I quit and I walked out. And if I had had someone to help me translate what he was saying, because what we recognize is what's being said isn't what's always being heard. I could have potentially kept my job longer, and I was living in a homeless shelter, so I certainly needed that job. And so those are some of the advocacy that we offer within the soft skills training as well, and childcare assistance, and then the crown jewel, the Triple Crown Academy, which will take me at least another year to fundraise for, is housing, recognizing that stable housing will provide a little bit more of those guardrails so that she can focus on her employment and definitely not be living in survival, especially if domestic violence has been present. And that allows her to keep her eye on her goal and not have to make the hard choices within that. And then the other pieces that are components of the Triple Crown are the financial wellness planning, because especially as they move into the apprenticeship program, will be the first time like they've ever earned a wage that they are an hourly rate. We want to make sure that they can use it to their benefit and, like I said, elevate themselves out of poverty. Trauma therapist, because while a professional development coach can help them get there physically, recognizing that the women we serve have experienced complex trauma, making sure that they can get there emotionally and mentally if there are triggers. And then, of course, we will use the model we are based off, the roadmap to success, which is intensive, holistic case management at other organizations. This aren't terms that we use, but like to help make sure that all of her other needs are met as well. So it's a very holistic program. We started this first pre-apprenticeship 6 weeks ago on September 7th. We still have 100% participation rate. We have hiccups along the way, but these are growing pains of being in the professional development or being in a professional environment. And we're very excited about where we're going.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. So you obviously both have very new programs, both less than a year old. So what are some of the biggest challenges you've faced, and then also any like early wins that you've seen? Lynn, did you want to go?
So the challenges, one of the things, and some of it's just like logistical things. So for example, we're opening up our application right now, and it was, women would come in and really want to apply for another one of our programs, like healthcare. So we, put a little firewall there, like little things like that. Also, challenges related to, provision of the stipends and being a little bit more strict with that if you're not doing your part. So women would go all the way to the end and not, apply for the positions. Putting a cap on the provision of tools and some of those things. And not everybody needs everything right then. But these are some of the things we also see on the healthcare side of the house. It's just fundamental to our programming. And I never like to generalize, but for the purposes, the women that we see many times. So that's kind of a learning opportunity for us, that we put a little bit more, like, tightened up some of the reins on that. Some of the other things, I heard you, Natasha, but we see this with our other population, just making sure we continue to connect them to the other supports at Caroline Center. Caroline Center is a tuition-free program. So the women, once they leave, your Caroline Center alum, woman for life, so you can come back 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 years, and we can connect them to our academic and career advancement support services person. So making sure we tighten up those items. So, it's a function of, again, some of the women, making sure that we're really clear as you can be, on why a woman is choosing to come into this program, and understands the commitment, and understands things such as that it could be really cold one day and you can't quit your job if it's outside, some of those things. Wins, I think, are the partnership, obviously, and having, like, Jennifer and MCCEI, Nicholas Cummings, having Miss Yvonne on our side, and having people that really understand the industry. I think another win is when I talk to people that know Caroline Center from the healthcare side, and we mentioned this new program. It's like healthcare what, right? And they're so interested, and they want to know how they can partner, or they want to make a connection to some type of way, and they like the innovation of it. I think for our first class, that was a real win. I think of the 9 graduates of that class, there were 5 women, but 3 of whom were Caroline Center women. So that was good. We had a couple that are waiting to start, or in the pipeline to start a program, a job. You always have the one that for some reason doesn't take advantage. We had a woman the last cycle. She was the only woman that graduated with all the gentlemen. So I think some of our messaging around women can do this, and some of the stereotypes have started to catch on. We know, in terms of, we have to recruit, Natasha, I know you know this, and we have to recruit way more women to get to the 5. Right? But our funder understands it's a pilot. Like you said, it's growing pains. But we know that our women can do this. I like that it's also a career path. Jennifer hosted a women's focus group for us. We hope to get some more speakers in on the next series, because I think the importance of the women seeing women that look like them, or even if they don't look like them, they can understand that it's not just, as I say, your grandfather's labor position, that there's so much opportunity, particularly here in Baltimore. So, it's as my program director would say, if I say, Shana, when we were in Zoom, I said, is she struggling because we're on Zoom? She would say, that same woman would struggle in the classroom. So some of the things are, carry over. But I think the foundation of who we are as Caroline Center is really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I totally, the stereotypes of construction being for men, right? That is because the majority of construction workers are men, right? And unfortunately, by the time these women are of age to be served by your organizations, they've had a whole lifetime of stereotypes and biases that they are working against to then see themselves. It is a brave woman to walk onto a construction site. It is. I've been there myself, and I wasn't a tradeswoman, right? And I guess that's kind of leads me a little bit to some questions around gender bias or stereotypes. Like, what are you guys doing? Maybe not even with your the women, the participants, but are you doing anything at all with the organizations that you're partnered with to help them better receive the women that are coming to them? Natasha, I know we were talking the other day. Are you guys, I think you had an early thing that happened with the first woman. Did you not?
Yes, on the job. Yes. Is that where we're going now?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'll say before that is like one of the things that we have, or we've been leaning into is helping to educate not just the union partners and other companies that we want to work with, but definitely like yes, like the hiring, the contractors to make the hiring decision of why we do this and why we need them to hire during the pre-apprenticeship phase, but also recognizing if they're wanting more women. We attend these training director meetings every month or 3 months or whatever it is, and we hear a need for inclusivity, a need for more women, recognizing that women are often the moms who come with the children, but also then one of the challenges that we've seen a lot is like, you got to be here at this time, you got to be here at this time. And we're doing they are like, we have an 18-year-old in the program right now who has 2 kids, and she is at work on time every day, but class, she may be a couple minutes late. And it's like, busting her butt all the way around. And not that it's we're not looking for exceptions, but if we're recognizing who women and what they come with those responsibilities, like kind of recognizing maybe some flexibility or a way to better mold the work as we move forward. So last year we had a woman that went on to a job site, and shortly after she started getting sexually harassed. And I'll be honest with you that she didn't think that anybody would believe her. She didn't think that about like what was being said to her and the attention, and that was unwanted. And she shared it with me, and before she was going to go talk with the union rep, and was, very tearful. And when it was relayed to the union rep, they handled it like the next day. Like they went to the job site the next day, they handled it. They asked her what she wanted from it. They handled it very well for what had occurred, and also giving her choice in the matter of it. I think was really needed, but while also handling the other aspects of it. And I just think that because of who the rep was and having so much opportunity to inform and educate about it, that it was not that it wouldn't be handled otherwise, but I'm just saying, like, I think the education component, and that's part of our responsibility as the leaders of these programs and organizations, that we have a responsibility to make sure we're not just educating the women we serve so that they can be employable and stay in the formal economy, but also educating the other side if we want them to hire those that we serve. If we want them to be understanding of the needs of women, we also need to be providing more information to them about what it means for them to be safe, the women to be safe.
100%. I mean, I know women that are, apprentices that started off as teachers, and they were sexually harassed in school by children that went to the school, right? So if you're a woman, the chances that you're going to be sexually harassed at work, it's going to happen, right? Yeah. The good thing is that we have to, it sounds like, at least from my experience, companies are not just brushing it under the rug anymore. They are doing what they need to do. The sad part about, the hard part about a construction site is that there are at any time dozens of companies working there. So that's where it gets a little tricky. And you just have to hope and then prepare the women to be their best advocate, and also to, buddy up and make sure that they're always looking out for each other. And that's why organizations such as NAWEC are so important for women to get involved in, which is the National Association of Women in Construction, provide support system. And the fact that she had someone that she could come to, Natasha, was really important. If she was just a woman that came off the street working, not part of an organization, she probably would have quit, right? Because she was getting harassed and she didn't feel like she had someone she can go to. And that's what's really important. I think what sets your organization apart, you're giving these women not only essential skills, but you're giving them support systems to help them through those tough times, because it's going to happen. There's bad actors everywhere, but like to help them power through so that one man doesn't keep them from an amazing opportunity and a lifetime of an amazing career that can put food on their table and provide for their families. And I think that's what can help these women. Yeah.
We encourage, we are honest from the start. Like, this may be what you like. There aren't as many women in whatever the skilled trade is that they may be pursuing at the time, but like, there aren't as many, but we can't, I often talk about blowing things up from the inside, which we don't literally mean blowing up the world. Like, you can't be influential from the outside, and we reiterate that they are trailblazers, and and really increase while there are women already in the trades, but really increasing their presence, but we're here to support them, and we really push advocacy and using your own voice, and we believe her, whatever it is, we believe her, and then being able to make, as humans, we want to reconcile, make sense of it. And then I feel like we have really strong partners. We've partnered with 7 local labor unions and United Rentals in this process. And so, like, we have strong partners that not only want to increase the growth of minority women in their trades, but also are respecting what we're presenting to them and are excited about the opportunity.
So I wanted to go back a little bit to what you were saying earlier. The Caroline Center, your organization is part of a larger program, like part of the pre-apprenticeship program that the Building Trades puts on. Mm-hmm. Not all the participants in that are Caroline women, right?
Right, right.
But what I thought was really cool is that for the first time, they had a majority of the participants were women. Mm-hmm. So I think like what you guys are doing is, even for those women that aren't in your program, they know other women that are in their lives that like now see the amazingness that's happening, and think, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And I think, like, you're right, Natasha, in that they're trailblazers, but they're hopefully going to bring other women along with them and change that. I do see that there's a couple questions coming through, and I don't know if I see there's one here from Laurie. Are there any opportunities for a woman who has been in the construction industry looking for something else? Absolutely. I think both of your organizations would love for women to help mentor in any way, shape, or form. Is there a way that they can get involved with either one of your organizations to help?
Absolutely. One, they can reach out to me through you, Jennifer, or whomever. And one of the things we want to do this cycle is build our the speaker series. I think that's the piece where we'd like to improve upon and have women hear from other women in the industry, and younger women maybe, or older women at different stages of their career. We talked about a mentoring program that will support and amplify what Yvonne Moten is already doing. So yes, let them all come.
Love that.
We will find a way. And Caroline Center has a very big volunteer corps anyway, so there's opportunity there.
Same here. We would love to we're looking for mentors, especially as, like, we just talked about, like, the sexual harassment. How do we handle this? Like, having other women who've already been involved would be a really great asset to those that who are not entering the trades. I think that also having someone who's at our info sessions who's a female, like, that would go a long way as well. So that just says, like, this is possible, and here's what I've done, and you can too. So, yeah. Thank you.
So I know you both get women, and you talked a little bit, Lynn, earlier about some of the strategies that you're doing to get women in. What are some ways that you've let women know about your programs? Miss Natasha, I think yours might be run a little differently too. I think you probably already these women might already be a part of the HER Resiliency Center and then invited, or do you recruit from the population as well?
Sure. Lynn, you want to go first? You want me? Am I going or is
Sorry, sorry about
Go
that.
ahead.
I asked you both
Go ahead,
questions.
Natasha.
Lynn, can you talk a little bit about
Yeah.
how you recruit women, and then Natasha piggyback on her?
So I'll say this: post-COVID, Caroline Center was totally word of mouth for everything. I mean, we always had the numbers. And then the shifts that we saw during COVID, a lot of people in the nonprofit space with women having challenges getting back into the workforce, lack of childcare and all of those things, or taking advantage of the gig economy, all of those things. So we really had to make a more concerted effort to recruit. We never had to do that before. I have a new marketing and communications manager. So if I say I'm doing social media, that means I'm like slapping something up there. We really have a line item for social media, a metrics-driven strategy. We measure it. We measure the hits, and then we target those women. And that's how we got a lot of the women in the first cycle. I mean, it wasn't just like, oh, let me post something. It was really targeted recruitment. Now we're doing more tabling events with our staff, our program and marketing staff, and getting out there to get the word. We just never had to. So I think we're just a more forward-facing organization now than what we used to be. And that drives the number. And then again, like you say, our women are our best advocates. The women that have been through the program, particularly healthcare, and are learning about the program and that we're expanding. That's, and then we have our alum staff that work with the alums, and we do a lot of outreach to women that way.
Awesome. How about you, Natasha? How does women find out about your program?
So for the first cohort, it was 5 of the women were from HER Resiliency Center's existing programs. The other 3 came from outreach. So we knew we were keeping a max of 8 for the first cohort. And so we have a street outreach team that actually covers 7 neighborhoods of the city. And with that, they do outreach events. So they did a number of outreach events. We have the application form information questionnaire on the website, so we could direct them there to read about all the requirements and the FAQs in advance to make sure that they're interested. Then we had info sessions that we put out on social media that we talked about in different outreach events. So we also recognize there's going to be a need to literally door knock in certain communities. Mm-hmm. And help make them aware of the opportunity. This cohort, we've already had a couple of young ladies, though, express a desire to tell their friends about it. At the day of the interviews, because we did interview for this program, one of the young ladies brought her 2 sisters because she wanted them to be in. But at this point, we'd already had our max number. And so there are going to be obstacles as we continue to go along. But I think if we're able to eventually offer that housing component of it, those that otherwise wouldn't be exposed to it will have gained the exposure and the stability to be able to actually enter stability in their lives, offer an off-ramp and services they otherwise were being provided without one. And it will just kind of build off itself. But I do think it's going to take continue to take some innovative approaches to getting them involved.
No, that's great. And so I guess at the end of this, what we'll do is we'll put up my email address and the MCCI, and then if anybody knows of women that might be interested and or wants an organization that wants to support, we'll give them that information as well. So, well, speaking of, so if a construction company that maybe hires tradespeople hears what you guys are doing and wants to get involved, what are ways that they can partner with your organizations?
So again, for us, because we are strictly union focused, because we adopted the earn and learn model, but being willing to hire our women, we'd like people that can do mock interviews, they can come in and do speaker series, all of the above. But the being willing to take a chance on our women. I went to Ocean City last year to the Buildings Trades Conference. And to your point about stereotypes, I was expecting like a lot of pushback. The gentlemen, and I'm going to say gentlemen that were there, I think I was one of 3 women that were there, was so receptive to what we were doing. We hadn't even launched the program then. So I think one of the things we also need them to do is tell their friends in this industry about our business and that our women can do the job. And particularly for Caroline Center, is that we have a 27 track year record of doing really good work. We've been around since 1996. People know us, they trust us. They know the Caroline Center way. They know the School Sisters of Notre Dame. And it works. It's not going to work for everybody, obviously, in any program, but it works. So, yeah.
How about you, Natasha?
Very similar answers. Definitely the willingness to hire the women we serve and give a chance, but also be giving a chance on the organization to be able to demonstrate the wraparound support, and then therefore giving a chance to the ladies and that we serve that want this so badly. I would also, I like that Lynn mentioned like sharing with friends. Like I hadn't considered. I'm thinking I have to go out and share with everybody. So that's a really good point. But also like because a lot of our funding historically has been government funding, it does not allow for the flexibility of need necessarily. So if there are contractors who are really invested in having more women and minority women in their company or union, it would be about also helping with some funding opportunity, whether it's sponsoring a young woman through the program or however it looks to them, because there's a lot of need and we are rising to meet it, but we need partners in that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, speaking as somebody that runs a nonprofit, having to search for grant funding constantly, it is a struggle. And some funders are not very flexible with what you can spend the money on. So yeah, like even if they don't want to send a woman through, but they can help you even with some of your overhead expenses or anything like that. That I don't know about you, but that seems to be what we run across too, is like the operations. So, and if any funders are listening, be more flexible with how we can spend your money.
Yeah, even for the housing, the reason the housing piece is such a long-term thing for us is that in victim services, which we get quite a bit of money for, you have to be in crisis. And once you're not in crisis, you can't stay there. And if we're offering an off-ramp, we want to make sure not only do they stabilize, but have the opportunity to grow in their stabilization before being exiting on their own. And then in homeless services, you have to be homeless, but not necessarily tie a lot of requirements to it. And so then it's like, how can we make this happen? And that is going to require more individual and corporate giving. That is an essential. It's honestly the crown jewel of the Triple Crown Academy, and it will be like the defining piece that we can demonstrate what happens when there's stable housing tied to a workforce development program.
Yeah, you bring up a point of like the benefits cliff too. So like even women that, have housing, maybe they're getting, Section 8 vouchers or something like that. There's lots of benefits that need someone to be below the poverty line, below a certain income threshold. Like, how are you? But then they're going to start to lose those things as they get more employment. But there's a point in which they are making too much money to get the benefits, but not enough money to replace the benefits they're losing. Like, what are some ways you think that we could, as an industry, support your organizations to help support your people? Are you doing anything to help women through those transition periods yet?
So our model's a little bit different because we basically kept the foundational Caroline Center model. So if you come to Caroline Center, you already have to have stable housing and some of those things. Part of that is a function of our partnership with the Board of Nursing and Board of Pharmacy and our ability to get them licensed in some of the mandates that they have on us. However, with that said, one of the things that I said when I became ED is, if you come to Caroline Center and, to use Natasha's word, if you're in some type of crisis, if you're experiencing homelessness or food insecurity, or whatever those things are. Even if you're not ready for Caroline Center, I'm going to send you to our support services person to connect you to something, right? So that we can at least get you on a pipeline. You may not end up back at Caroline Center, but I never want a woman to walk away with, you're not where you need to be, so bye, At one point, we used to do counseling in-house, but the women are only with us, our healthcare women, for 15 weeks and even a shorter period of time for the women in construction. And we felt that 15 weeks, if we let you go after that, was a disservice for a woman that might need some counseling a little bit longer. And that represented, truthfully, some liability for us and for the women. So we do a good job of really stronger partnerships in those spaces where we don't provide some of those interventions. And we just can't be everything to everybody. Jennifer, you've been there too. We're also very space constrained in terms of what we can do. Yep. So partnerships, I would say not everything has to be in the building, right? And what makes sense for our women. So.
All right. So what advice would you guys give other nonprofits looking? I mean, there's nonprofits. Well, first of all, the skilled trade shortage is a nationwide problem and actually like a global problem. But what would you guys say to a nonprofit, that might be interested in starting this? Any lessons learned, sage advice? Share.
For us, it would be, if you don't mind, Lynn, if I take this.
No, go.
In starting HER in general, like I would always be asked, like, how is HER different than other organizations? And I think moving forward, especially as there is more an intense endeavor to get more women in the trades and programming around it, would be like identifying how you're different and how you fill the gap that exists for us. And doing such a holistic approach is that we were finding that certain types of partners weren't showing up the same in the way that the women we serve really needed in a consistent manner anyway. And so that's like why we try to that's why we brought it. We want bringing it in-house. However, I think is identifying where we have to identify where we fit within the construction trades. And so I think that's one of the ways is differentiating. The other is really establishing the partners who can help promote the work you're doing and not just for the organization, but for those you serve. And for us, it's like the union partners that we have, the contractors that we have, how are they helping support not just our mission of helping women enter or the mission of this program to help women enter the trades, but also helping helping the women in general, by boosting them and making sure that they can enter the formal economy. We are told on a regular basis. So the ladies are right now are training to be trade show carpenters. And I keep hearing it over and over that they're really busting their butts out there and they're working harder. And
yeah.
They've had some haters out there on the floor and been said probably because they're working harder than some of the other members who are there already. And we just want to make sure that they have the opportunity to continue also by providing them the support. So I think those are the two pieces: identifying how you're different and really having those strong partnerships that you can rely on, and vice versa.
I also would add, one of the things I always say, particularly to the business community, because I know they look at bottom line a lot and it sounds cold, but it is what it is. We see ourselves, or I see us particularly, as an economic proposition for the city of Baltimore. Most of the women we see are female head of household. We know what the city's demographic looks like. And so for those of us like me, I'm city-based. I'm a city dweller. We love the city. We want people to thrive within the city. So there is the heart part of this and the God work part of this for me, but there's also, we want the women to be contributing members of the city or the county, because we will take a county resident, we'll creep over and bring them right back, and all of that. And we want the city to thrive. And I remember, Jennifer, when you first started this work, I think you and Gino, Jim and Yanni were talking, that's the old name, right? From Whiting Turner, we're talking about that construction companies were going out of state to recruit. They were going to Purdue University. We want people to live, earn, work, learn, play in Baltimore and Maryland. So part of that is to have our business community to talk about how this contributes to. So if you invest in us, you're investing in the city as well. And then the other piece I would say is to talk about this with our women in terms of a career. This is not just a job, and the opportunities are endless. And, what feeds your passion in this space, electrician, plumbing, whatever that is. And there's some creativity in that that can meet you. So, yeah.
We definitely, MCSI would love to definitely support both of you, especially in that part. I feel like that's where we shine as an organization with showcasing we have our Build Your Path magazine that we can actually make sure that everyone's got. It's got all, literally any kind of career path that you could think of in the construction industry. And we have a new website launching next week too. Okay. So definitely excited about sharing that with you guys and making sure that they know even what you're doing right now does not have to be the end for you. That's the amazing part about this industry. It is a very upwardly mobile. Your ambition is as high as you're going to stop, right? You can own your own business if you want to. It's not for everybody, as we all know. Running an organization is not for everyone. But if that's what you want, that's what you can have in this industry. That's awesome.
Jen, may I say something real quick off what Lynn had said a minute ago? Is that yes, like one of the things that we recognize is while it seems expensive on the front end, it pays off. The ROI pays off because women become tax-paying, thriving citizens, and so they're no longer like what someone might say like taking from taking in benefits. They're actually putting back into the economy, investing in our economy. But also, as we one thing's knowing that some. And speaking with our partners is that in Baltimore City, oftentimes there aren't as many union work. There's not as much union work as there might be in other areas. And so I think like for us, we're also advocating with our council reps and people in the city to try to make sure that there is, while we can build the pipeline, is the work there. And I think that's another part of the responsibility of us as leaders is to make sure that there is work there so that they can actually have a wage they can depend on where they're not, where they know what it is compared to their male counterparts or whoever, whatever the situation is, and that there's growth potential. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, as we wrap up, is there anything else that you all wanted to make that we didn't talk about that you wanted to make sure we discussed? And if not,
I like to always invite people to come see us. Come see Caroline Center. I always say, people, like this is what I talk about it, but to see the women in action, at least, for the construction side, when they're in their essential skills training and what they're doing and how excited and the energy they have. So I always like to get people in the building. Come see us.
Love that. You do have a great space.
Thank you.
Natasha.
I need more space, but we got great space.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I covered what, the pieces, and I think where I guess I kind of held off was to this part about like building that pipeline, but also having the work so that that women we are actually helping to get ready and develop don't have to leave the state, or they don't have to go such a far geographical distance to be able to actually utilize their skills.
That is right. Maryland is a primarily open shop state where I think it's 80% of the work is not done by merit shop organizations, non-union. But the closer you get to DC, that number does go up. So it is, but it is regardless of if you work union or open shop, you're going to need a car to work in the construction industry, and that is a major barrier to a lot.
That is a huge one.
Huge barrier. But that's because of the way construction works. You are buildings don't all stay in the same place.
Right.
Or they stay in the same place. The jobs move. I don't know
Right.
where that was going. But anyway, all right. Well, I wanted to thank you both so much.
Somebody's asking for location
Yeah.
and contact. Jennifer, will you send our information out to everybody?
Absolutely. We will make sure. But is there a website, Caroline Center?
Yes, should I put it in the chat maybe?
Oh,
But
you can just say it out loud and
it's
we'll make sure.
www.caroline-center.org. Look, I never go on it. I'm like, is that right? Caroline Center, I think. Yes.
And Natasha?
We're at herresiliency.org, resiliency.org, and you can find the tab for the Triple Crown Academy in there.
Wonderful. We'll make sure that all of our social media is updated with that. Oh, looks like we've got Caroline Center in there.
Yeah.
So
Caroline Center's here. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you both so much for taking time out. I know you're very busy, and we appreciate you sharing this with our followers.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Have a good day, everybody.